everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Dub Degenerates, the podcast right here in Manga Historian, where I sit down with Dan and we talk about the anime and manga and what we're reading and what's going on. I apologize for the show being off the air for, I think, about a month at this point. I went on a break, and then we had to catch up on everything we hadn't watched because I was on a break, so I wasn't watching anything, which is weird because I don't know about you, Dan, but every time I go on a break, I'm like, oh man, I'm going to finish JoJo. I'm going to watch this show. I'm going to watch the entirety of this show, and I watch none of it. I watch none of the stuff. And I just sit around playing video games normally, and then I just forgot I was supposed to do things.
What makes it worse for me is I think the same thing, and then I somehow end up rewatching Misfit of Demon Academy for the 16th time for some reason.
Right. I can't do that. I cannot rewatch any. I've never rewatched an anime without watching it with someone else. I can't just put it on in the background like you do.
I'm very much a anime in the background is kind of like music to you, where it's that sound on the side. It helps me do stuff. Plus, it's fun.
So, okay, let's get right into it because I think we both have a lot to talk about. You got a lot to go over with Solo Leveling. I was going to try to watch the entirety of the dub before this episode. I was unable to, so I'll talk about my opinions on that at the beginning.
Rewatching / catching up to finish the Bleach 1,000-Year Blood War. So I just rewatched the first season because it's been a long while, and so I get to watch the next part soon. So I'm excited to talk about that next time. Once I've watched through all of that, because that one I'm in the mood for, so it's going to be real easy. I'm probably going to finish it tonight since I finished the entirety of season 1 yesterday.
I got and I have two that I want us to start watching that have just started up with the season. Spice and Wolf's remake has started up.
Okay.
That's a classic that they've remade, so it'd be interesting to see.
Oh, okay.
I think it's a remade, or it might be another story in it. I'm not 100% sure. But I also want to watch No Game, No God, or No God, No Game. Crunchyroll's thrown into my face like crazy, so I figured we probably should watch that one.
Okay. Fair enough.
So those are the next two we're going to be moving over to. But let's end what I guess is the first season of Dub Degenerates. Because all the anime we were watching came to an end.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah. All right. Let's kick it off with Metalic Rouge. So, long story short, Bones made it an anime that is only an anime. It was supposed to be a webtoon as well. It's not out. I don't know where it is. I kept trying to find it. So, it was like, whatever. But yeah, Metalic Rouge came to its conclusion. There was a big twist midway through the season that kind of revealed everything. And the last two episodes finally really, really fully revealed everything. And I loved them. The action was amazing. But with the conclusion being the way it is, I have a lot of questions about what they all decided to do that don't make sense.
Okay.
So, how did you feel about it?
I enjoyed it. I will say, as I watched it, I'm not the biggest fan of the sci-fi anime, apparently. Because I'm a fan of the fantasy and stuff, but for some reason, the robot thing. It slightly pulls me out. Anyway, that aside,
but I thought you enjoyed this one.
No, I do. Don't get me wrong. I do enjoy it. It's more of a, I enjoy this one specifically, but it's not really a genre that I could see myself going, you know what, let's see what else is out there that's similar to Metalic Rouge. I probably would rely on you telling me, Dan, this one is amazing, you need to watch it.
Okay, because I watch a lot of robot science fiction stuff.
You're big on the robots as well as the kaiju and stuff like that, whereas I'm a little bit not so much.
Oh, that's another one we got to watch weekly now. Kaiju number 8.
Okay.
You haven't read the manga, I have, so this will be another interesting one like Solo Leveling.
Okay, I'll give it a shot because classic 3-episode try as we always talk about.
So those are for those who are wondering. Are going to be those are our 3 shows we're going to watch. Spice and Wolf. They said the name is God's Game We Play. That's the name of it. And then Kaiju number 8. So anyway, Metalic Rouge.
Yes, I enjoyed it. I thought it was fun. I really enjoyed the fight scenes, everything like that. I will say there were a lot of twists happened in a very short amount of time. I feel like
every episode of the second half of the series was nothing but twists.
Yeah, and as someone that does sometimes struggle with having full attention on it, I got lost a couple times.
I'll admit, I was following it closely, and I was a little confused by the father, who turned out to be a Neon as well, being in the body of the sister when he was also changing into other things. So like he was moving around and things like that. That I just didn't track that until he transformed into the blue body, that it was actually the sister's body.
Yeah.
So, but it's just because like so much was going on. Like you said, there was a lot of stuff happening real quick. I enjoyed the show overall. I thought it was really good. The fight sequences were incredible. I loved the character designs. The neons just felt different and unique, close to like Kamen Rider and stuff, but not like all the way there. I liked all of that. My big issue is now that we're at the end of it, Dan, the plot didn't make sense. That's basically what it boils down to. So the reveal turns out to be that the father had been puppet mastering everyone to act the way they were. Yep. That was the whole thing. He gave all of the neons their motivation. He gave the motivations to Rouge. He gave the motivations to everyone. First off, Naomi and her whole side, we just seemed to forgot that existed. Like that, like we just dropped that. Naomi's a neon. We're going with that. Cool. But we dropped the aliens that gave the technology, how they were involved. That was just out the window. I was like, okay. So we're going with the father manipulated everyone. The 9 didn't seem to have clear goals. They wanted neon freedom, but they were destroying cities to do so. Some of them didn't even want anything to do with it. And that was, they were very unclear on their objectives and goals. Just like Rouge and Naomi were trying to stop the 9 from giving freedom to the neons, which, as we said midway through the series, was the exact opposite of what they were trying to do. We were both like, wait, isn't it a good thing that the robots have free will? And they were like, so the motivations and everything just were weird.
Right.
And I think the creators knew that because they threw the twist at the ending that, oh no, the father downloaded his brain into a neon and he's controlling everything. So anything that doesn't make sense, all him.
Yep. I will say I enjoyed the personality of Rouge, like her childlike wonder, the like more funny, lighthearted. That being said, her lack of knowledge on basically everything made it difficult for me because of the fact that it felt like I was missing a big portion of that kind of inner monologue / narration of how the viewer should be feeling.
Yeah. And it was weird, too, when we discovered that Rouge wasn't freshly created. She'd been alive, living with the brother. She seemed weirdly clueless for how old we found out she actually was.
That, and I thought it was kind of weird that if I saw correctly, her brother has a different father who was the detective?
He said that line, and I just was like, I'm not even going to question this.
Okay,
like,
so you were also kind of confused when that part happened.
Yeah,
okay.
Noir. It's Noir. It was the detective. Yeah, he's like, father. And I'm like, okay, wait. I thought the old man that was in the Puppet Master was the father of both of them.
Yep.
But now we're talking about Eve as the mother of... Okay, all right. Like,
yep.
It just felt to me like they didn't know how to land it. They didn't know how to bring it together. And they just threw the anime trope of like, here's the mastermind. He's doing it all.
Right. It definitely felt like one of those ones where it starts off with such a focused bad guy / objective that as it went on, they were kind of like, hey, you see this? That's just the nucleus. This is everything that's going on. Here it is all in your face at the same time. And so that part I wasn't the biggest fan of. But that aside, the animation was fun. The music was fun.
I felt bad for Cyan when she died. Cyan. And her last thing just being like, am I your sister? And Rouge is in tears saying, you are my sister. Of course you are. And then she's like, can we just have pancakes? And then she died. I'm like, oh.
It's like, what is with the neons and the 9 wanting sugary food?
That's true. I didn't even think about that connection. Okay, so now that it's over, do we think it's going to get a season 2? Because they kind of buttoned up the main plot. They did open it up as this is now the big bad and we have to go fight. But they've barely touched on that. So that they definitely left it open for, if we get a season 2, here's who we're going to fight. But that was it.
I don't know. Because
I don't think so.
There was nothing about this that felt groundbreaking to me. Like game-changing in the anime space, as well as based on the popularity I saw it on the subreddit, how basically after those first couple episodes, it really started falling off.
Yeah, there's a lot of fall off on it. Yeah. I looked at my anime list and it only got a 6.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so I liked it. If you like, I will say, if you like convoluted plots, because I mean I like convoluted plots, people do,
Right.
And you like crazy action and just kind of like a buddy cop dynamic, it is a good show. But I think the issue with it is there's way too many better anime I could recommend in the same space. Mm-hmm. So it's more of a fun watch. I do like it. I do like the characters. I would love a season 2, but I don't think it's going to get one.
Yeah, same.
And it's sad because there's no manga for me to go read. Like, I'll just see what happens to Rouge.
Yeah, it is a shame on that because it's like it's fun when everyone experiencing it is experiencing new information at the same time.
Yeah.
So,
all right, next up on the list, let's do your solo leveling.
So good. Okay, so I watched the entire thing in sub as well as in dub, and I will say both are amazing. The dub in this is phenomenal. Alex Lay, I believe is his name, frickin' knocked it out of the park with this because it feels the drama, the emotion, the personality changes. You really feel all of them as if you are experiencing it with him. And I said this on Absolute Comics with Sal, actually, how the music in it it's not traditional anime like fight music where it's like really actiony. It's more like a solemn, deep, dramatic music that is more there to kind of show you the change in Sung Jinwoo in like the main character. It's showing the change in him as a person as opposed to focusing on the fight itself while still showing us the awesome fights. I loved it. I really enjoyed the way they handled his job change quest. So, quick side note, it covers the first 2 volumes of the story, and the final episode ends on him getting Igris as one of his followers. And I thought they did a fantastic job with all the fights. It was just fantastic. And the Arise line, it was perfect.
So you said that it ended on volume 2, so maybe we gave it we were a little too harsh on the pacing issue.
I 100%. I actually wanted to say that.
I was going to say, I've read up to volume 8, and if we're only doing a season per 2 volumes, that's not going to go that long. So maybe we're a little too harsh on the pacing just because they're trying to make it work.
Right. One thing to keep in mind, though, it's the manhwa that is at volume 8. This is a light novel. So it goes farther than that. It's currently being adapted into the manhwa.
No, it's not even a light novel. It's already done on Webtoons, but then Webtoons lost it, and you can read the whole thing on Tapas, and it's been out for like a year. The whole thing's out. The whole thing's complete.
Interesting.
It's just not published. Like, you're not going to get a book of it. They're still doing those.
Interesting, because I could have sworn it was a light novel as well. Anyway,
it might be a light novel as well, but I am saying it was a webtoon.
Right.
And
I do remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe it was a light novel that got turned into the webtoon, and the webtoon lost it and it moved into Tapas, and now it's over in Tapas. You can
I think that might be along the lines.
It's weird.
Yeah. Either way, I apologize for my judgments on like those first couple of episodes because looking at it from a full season point of view, it was so needed to really set the tone of who he was, of the world that he existed in before everything that happened. Like it was needed. I'm glad that they're also doing the Jeju Island stuff on the side throughout all of this because it allows us to kind of see more of the capabilities of all the other characters because we do mostly just see overpowered Jinwoo. This is one I guarantee I will rewatch this multiple times. I know already that I will. It was that good.
Okay. Well, so we already know it's getting it, but now that season 1 is done, Dan, do you think it's getting a season 2?
I think did this one get confirmed for a season 3 already?
I think it did. I think it got confirmed for 2 and 3.
I think it's going to cover all the way up to that Jeju Island raid. I think that will be the conclusion of that 3rd season. That's my expectation, at least.
A Spider Darkclaw in our Twitch chat has, it was a web novel that got turned into a light novel that then got adapted to a webtoon manhwa, which is now, and all of them are done. The story is complete.
A lot of stories do that.
And the webtoon manhwa is complete on Tapas, which I showed you. Mm-hmm. If you're waiting for the physical books, those are behind. I think we only have one more, though. I think it's only going to go to volume 9.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But
so
good. So I wish you had seen it because like that I want to see your reaction to
I'm gonna, and we'll talk
final
about
episode.
it next week.
Yeah.
But
right.
And as far as I know, it also has 2 sequels already. Like I told you, there's 2 sequels running right now.
Sequels?
Yeah, to Solo Leveling. Because when I Googled to see if it was complete, the sequels came up.
I didn't know that there were sequels.
Yeah. I told you when we went to lunch last week.
Oh, shit. Solo Leveling Ragnarok.
That's what I'm saying. There are sequels.
Oh, wow. That started recently, though.
Yeah.
Publication started in April 2023. That's awesome. Okay, cool.
So the story can continue, Dan.
Yeah.
All right, so next up, before we get to the other things we watched, Frieren came to its conclusion. How far did you watch? Where are you at?
So let me open it because I watched that they were doing the wizard test, and she completely dominated the old guy, and the old guy's like, oh.
So you're at the wizarding exam. Okay.
Yeah.
I won't tell
got
you.
to episode 24 out of 28.
Do you have? Yeah, it's like 28. I thought it was 26. All right. Either way, Frieren. We'll just talk about it as a whole. I'm not going to spoil what happens in that finale. Who passes, who doesn't, what ends up happening.
Right.
Because as usual, it was cool. It was epic. It didn't matter. But I don't mean that in a bad way. Because the entirety of this show is literally just them going on a journey.
I completely agree because, like, in this one, I feel like the whole point is that big things can happen, but depending on the perspective, it can really make it almost pointless. And to an elf that lives thousands of years, these small things to her, it's just a Tuesday. Like that's kind of like the mindset that she's going through.
I don't know if you saw the sequence in this sequence for the wizarding. She does fight something that is finally on her level.
Isn't it her?
Yes, she has to fight herself.
I loved that bit because I loved that bit because it showed us that she can struggle at times, but she is still insanely powerful to the point that like only she will hold up to her, and I love that.
So I don't know what to say about Frieren. It was just a chill ride. It was the perfect anime to just sit down and watch it at night and just let go. And I love that some of the episodes are broken up into 2 segments. I just loved the characters of Fern and Stark. I love that they didn't pay too much attention. No character felt like that. Even Frieren did not feel like this is Frieren's show, even though it's literally named after her. There's whole segments of just Fern being awesome and Stark being awesome.
And I will say, there were so many fan comics and like fanfic on the subreddit that I was so convinced, and if this happens, don't tell me, that Stark and Fern, thank you, that they were going to end up together. Like they were going to become a couple.
It doesn't happen in the anime.
Okay. Because every time that happened, I was like, because I was picturing, like, part of me was wondering if there were going to be parts in this where they do large time skips to show that to Frieren it.
I thought they were going to as well, but I think the whole point. I think the point. This is what I took away from this.
Okay.
Frieren missed out on Himmel and Heiter, and she missed out on it not because she didn't appreciate that friendship and she didn't understand what she was missing out on.
Yeah.
And I feel like the whole point of this series is this time around she will appreciate Fern and she will appreciate Stark and she will appreciate. I can't remember his name now. The guy that was with them for a little while, but it changed the dynamic.
Oh yeah, like the doctor guy.
Yeah, I get a feeling he left because the dynamic changed. It turned into mommy, daddy, kids, and it was like that's a little.
Like having that secondary adult figure in it kind of was like.
Cian, yeah.
Not. Oh yeah.
The chat is telling us it's hinted at since episode 5. No, I mean if you don't think they're gonna end up together eventually,
Oh, Stern and Stark confirmed. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
Stern's gonna happen, guys. Stern's gonna happen. We're gonna call that.
It's going to happen.
Fark
yeah.
doesn't sound good, so Stern works.
But I am saying to Dan, it doesn't
shit.
happen in this.
Yeah.
So my plan now is the problem is Frieren's incredible, whatever. Madhouse is not known for doing season 2 of anything. So now the debate is, will they have a season 2? Will it be by Madhouse? And then 3, it won't be for at least 2 years because they are actually up to volume 6, I believe. And there's only 9 total. So they don't have enough for another season at the moment.
Right. Yeah, I just looked it up. It has not been greenlit yet. I will say, one, I think it should get a second season, and I think that second season should be a time jump. I think it would be really cool.
Well, no, there's more manga. I'm going to read the manga to see what happens next.
Okay, interesting.
Like it goes up to like 6 or 7. There's only 9 or 10 of them available. There just isn't enough for another season right now.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
If that's the case, I'm very thankful we get 28 episodes in the first season.
Yeah.
Because that's basically 2 seasons for most shows like this that the standard meme, I smell a 12-episode anime.
Yeah. So it was funny. So, okay, I think that's Frieren, Solo Leveling, and Metalic Rouge. Do we have any other? I did not watch any more JoJo. I watched one episode in which it was Josuke and Joseph were trying to raise a baby that turned invisible whenever it cried. It was very weird and just standard JoJo. It was funny. That's all I watched of JoJo. I didn't watch any more yet.
Okay.
Did you watch anything else? Because I got in a weird rabbit hole that ended with my trash isekai.
Okay, so first I will say, because I started watching this, or rewatching this, Eminence in Shadow, if you guys want like an isekai that makes fun of majority of tropes, but is still like surprisingly good, Eminence in Shadow on Hulu, highly recommend. However, partway through that, I remembered that I had not finished the Bleach 1,000-Year Blood War, and I wanted to mention that real quick for the season 1. I really enjoy this. I think they've done a lot of stuff to Bleach that made this feel new, but still felt like I was watching the characters from the original show. Very much enjoyed it. It's getting crazy, and I am so excited to see the next season because of the way that they end Kenpachi Zaraki in the first season, because he's one of my favorite characters. Oh my God, I am so excited to see what happens with him because I still have not seen his Shikai or his Bankai, and I don't know if I assume they're going to show his Shikai in season 2, and I'm so excited for it. But so that one I wanted to mention because I do want to be reminded to talk about the season 2 on the next time we do this because I want to make sure that I watch that. Anyway, go for your weird one.
Well, first, because I did catch up on Delicious in Dungeon, and I've got a bone to pick with all of you hardcore anime fans, okay? If you're recommending a series to someone, and it's called Delicious in Dungeon on Netflix, stop telling people to watch Dungeon Meshi. Dungeon Meshi is not what it is in America. You can't find Dungeon Meshi without doing a bunch of Google searches to link the two of these together. I tweeted out this morning that I finished these other 2 things, and 3 people tweeted me going, have you seen Dungeon Meshi? And I'm like, Delicious in Dungeon? That's what it's called in America. And don't give me the shit of like, oh, we don't know what it's called in America. You knew it existed. You knew it existed in America. Where are you watching Dungeon Meshi?
I 1000% agree. It is the most pretentious thing. I'll be honest, guys. It is the most pretentious thing because it's the standard, I know Japanese name for this thing. Because one of the most common ones to do it that I always forget, and I'm like, what the hell are these people talking about? Like Shingeki, I don't know the actual word. Attack on Titan. No one calls it Attack on Titan. And I'm like, you guys freaking suck because I don't want to be a part of this fandom if I don't always know what we're talking about.
Yeah, it's like people that say Boku no Hero.
Exactly. It's like
I get it. Look,
who you're talking to and talk to them like that because you sound pretentious. Google exists. If you're going to say, I don't know what it is, frickin' Google it and tell me what it's actually called. Otherwise, I'm probably not going to watch it if that's the kind of fandom that I'm going to get.
Because here's the deal. You guys, before this, we were talking about a new webtoon, and it had 3 different names, and we couldn't find what you guys were all talking about because everyone wants to call it something else. I get it. Mm-hmm. I literally am one of the pretentious assholes that learns all the terminology and all the proper names, and I say it all to Dan, and Dan goes, "Oh, you sounded like an asshole, Betty," and I just laugh at him, and it's funny between us. But when you're recommending, that's my argument.
Yes.
I will agree with that.
Yes, yeah.
Once, if you and I are chatting about Delicious in Dungeon and you want to call it Dungeon Meshi, then I'm on board. Whatever. Call it whatever you want. One of our guys, he just subbed for 95 weeks. He's the weebiest weeb I've ever met in the world. Leo, he will literally do the most annoying shit in the world where he'll try to say everything in like super weeb Japanese. And it's just like, dude, just say it what it is. Just say why are you doing it like that? Why? Who are you impressing? All I'm saying, I'm not saying don't learn the proper names or what it is originally or what it before it was. That's fine. Learn it all. But when you're recommending it, tell me what it is in English here. What do I Google?
Yes.
Anyway, Delicious in Dungeon, I'm fully caught up on. And I don't like what's happening ever since they fixed it. Okay, so how far have you watched it?
I haven't seen it since our last review.
Okay. So I'll spoil this, but you know the plot of the show.
Yep.
They get to the dragon. They get back Fallon's parts. They resurrect Fallon. That was the plan. That was what
Makes
they were
sense. That's what we were all expecting. I got to episode 9 for the record.
Then we discover that there's something else going on with Fallon, with the resurrection, with the dungeon itself. And we now have spent like 3 episodes kind of spinning our wheels where everyone is just at the bottom of the dungeon trying to prep to leave. Fallon has gone missing again, and the brother doesn't seem to overall care because the overall attitude they all seem to have is, well, Fallon must have gone on ahead of us. But then we're stalling down at the bottom of the dungeon. Like there was a whole episode in which Elf Girl, I can't remember her name off the top of my head, but she gets petrified, so they solve that issue. And then there's a side episode about another group of dungeoners going down, and they're people that also know the crew. So ever since they solved the Fallon issue, I don't want to spoil what it is because in case you haven't watched it or whatever, but when they solve the Fallon issue, the next big mystery presents itself. And then the answer is, well, Fallon must have gone on ahead of us. We're going to get out of the dungeon. And we've just been stalling for 3 episodes.
It's that sounds very much like the syndrome of we weren't expecting to go past this.
So maybe the manga was kind of stalling for a few
seconds.
Like
that's kind of the vibe that I'm getting from that because it's a very common thing. Where like an anime gets to that big thing, the climax happens, and then they keep going after, and you're like, how do we make this as interesting?
Yeah.
What?
I will say the show is great. The big resolution does come at episode 12 or 13, one of the 2 of them. And it's got more to it, so it could just be a couple slow episodes and we're going to get better again.
Okay.
But I do love the cast. I think the cast is incredible. This is probably one of my favorite I wouldn't call it a deep anime or anything like that, but it's definitely just a fun one to pop on.
Yeah.
And I just enjoy it, and it's really good. I am enjoying it a lot. So, all right. Trash Isekai journey. I want to make this like a weekly thing. I was going to watch So I was like, I got to the end of all my stuff, and I was like, I could watch Shangri-La Frontier, like Dan said, or I can watch Mashal. Those are the 2 I picked. I was like, one of the 2.
And you decided not to?
Or I could finish Jujutsu Kaisen. 3 wonderful
That reminds me that I rewatched the entirety of Mashal because they started a season 2.
So, okay, but what I'm saying is, also, I could watch Konosuba season 2, which I haven't watched, because Konosuba 3 is coming out. So I was like, I could do one of these 4 options. All of them sound like great options. They're all great shows. But I was like, we're watching too many shonen-related things. Let me find something else, just like a something to mix up our anime viewing. So I went to Amazon to see what it recommended. And it always recommends everything with 9,000 different names. Like, I think I have one downloaded. It's like, I am the secretary to the Demon Lord at level 1 or whatever. And I'm like, whatever. I downloaded like 3 or 4 of them, okay? One of the ones I downloaded, because I was gonna just look at it, was Life with an Ordinary Guy Who Got Reincarnated as a Total Fantasy Knockout. And I was like, what the fudge is this? So I looked into it. And the plot is a guy gets reincarnated as the fantasy bombshell of the isekai with his best friend. And I'm like, okay, what is this? And so now my brain is like, what is this story? And I watched the trailer, and the trailer was like, this is a romantic comedy about a guy and a girl who used to be a guy. And I'm like, what? What am I watching? So I was like, where is it? And Crunchyroll's like, hey, Benny, we got all 12 episodes. So I was like, okay, what I'm going to do for the sake of the show with Dan, I'm going to start this, and I'll stop it the moment it crosses the line that I'm assuming it's going to cross, and then that'll be a funny story on the podcast. I finished the freaking anime.
Joke's on you, Benny.
So the plot is two guys, they're 32. That is a reoccurring theme that these are two 32-year-old men, casual businessmen.
Hey,
they get drunk one night. One of them is like super awesome. All the girls like him. He's really good at everything, and he draws all the attention from his buddy. The other guy is like, he's generic as hell. That's the point. He's literally so generic, he fades into the background, can't get any girls, doesn't do anything. He gets super drunk at a meeting after party. He passes out on the lawn with his buddy watching him, and his buddy's like, man, I wish I could just get you home safely. And the other guy goes, man, I wish I was just a blonde bombshell in a fantasy adventure. The goddess of love arrives, grants those two wishes, and then warps them to an isekai where they have to kill the demon lord.
Oh my
The
God.
then running gag is, will these two end up together? But the guy who's a girl is like not naked or in a bikini or skimpily clad at any point. And they don't even, the only running joke about him being a female is that the guy has his power. He's the worst stats in a game. He has level 1, all of his stats are through the floor, but he has the power that if anybody sees him, they immediately fall in love with him and want to marry him. So the running gag.
So he's a succubus.
So the running gag is that every guy wants to marry him and have him have their babies. Pretty sure there was a shower scene. There's like one shit. See, Coda watched it. There's one shower scene and there's one scene where they're like, you have to wear this skimpy bikini. And he's just like, no! Like, and that's it. So, but the running joke outside of that is that the other guy that was super incredible is now even more super incredible. Like, he can one-punch things, blow stuff up. He's like the top tier everything in every anime. Okay? So the two of them are now going through and they constantly are charming each other to fall in love with each other. But then there's the constant reminder that it's their guy best friend. So there's this constant joke of will they or won't they or should they?
This is like someone was asked the hypothetical question of, if your best friend became a woman, would you date them? And this person was like, you know what? I'm going to make an anime and I'm going to see whether or not I would bang my own friend.
So all 12 episodes, that's the joke. Like, that would they, won't they? There's nobody crosses the line. There's like a brief shower scene. They even make the joke at one point because he does look kind of like a lolly, the guy who turned into the girl. And they're like, he finally gets alone in the bath and he comes out and the guy's like, so what did you do? And he's like, I'm actually disappointed. I thought I'd finally get to be alone for a moment, but I look like my younger sister. I can't do anything. So all of the outfits that he's wearing are modest. There's other characters that are skimpily clad. But,
right.
You know, like they make a big stink about one scene where his stomach is exposed because the shirt lifts up. Because whenever he gets drunk, he wants to run around and get naked. But now he's in this tiny body, so he has one beer. So they're like, wait, what happens if you have one beer? And he's like, I'm running around naked. But naked was just like in boxers and a T-shirt. Like,
Oh, my God.
It's the most like PG you would ever expect an anime of this caliber to be. So I'm sad though it ended. It didn't conclude the plot, but there is a manga, and I'm now gonna read it. I'm gonna see where it goes because it did not get approved for season 2, shockingly.
Oh my God.
So I watched all of that instead of Solo Leveling, instead of Jujutsu Kaisen, instead of Shangri-La, instead of Vashel, instead of JoJo.
I can't wait for you to watch those because of the fact that I can almost guarantee at least one of them you are going to be like, I don't know why I didn't watch this sooner.
Oh, all of them. I can say all of them.
I know, especially MASH.
For those who are Googling it, it's super hard to find because it's got a stupid name like every other one does. Life with an ordinary guy who reincarnated as a total fantasy knockout.
Oh my gosh. So the anime is basically like that one part. You can't hear me. The anime is basically like that one part from Punk Hazard where Sanji gets swapped into Nami's body.
Oh, yeah. And Sanji's like trying to touch himself and stuff. This was tamer than that.
That's actually impressive.
I like Arcane Peyoso in our chat, though. Nah, bro. Tell me the Japanese name, or I can't find it.
Now, guys, this is Dub Degenerates. We give you the dub title, not the subtitle.
Oh, God, I'm going to butcher this. Okay, it's not shorter in Japanese. Fantijo, Bashijo, Jinku, Jiniku, Onji-san. That is the one time you'll ever see me try to pronounce Japanese. Did you watch anything else? Because that's where I got to. And I haven't read any additional manga. I did try reading one that is apparently a manhwa called Colorless. I fell off so quick. I couldn't even read it. The concept was we're in the future. Every human being has altered into like these weird monstrous features, but they find one girl who looks human still, and she has the ability to bring back color. And I'm like, that sounds like an interesting idea. And it just was so boring so quick.
Interesting. Okay. There was one because our chatters at twitch.tv/comic store and gaming, where we sometimes record this, mentioned an anime that I have seen. I didn't watch it recently, but I did want to mention it. It's called Tsukimichi Moonlit Fantasy on Crunchyroll, and it's basically about this guy that is incredibly overpowered but doesn't enjoy like being the spotlight, and it's very good.
So One Punch Man?
It's similar to it, and the reason why I believe people are mentioning it is because it does have a season 2. I will watch it, guys. I will, however, wait for the entire season to be dubbed because it looks like they're on episode 15 at the moment, and they're only dub up to 13. So I do plan on watching that eventually because I really enjoyed that first one. I wish I had seen it more recently so I could give a better description of what it was because it was very, very good. And to just give an example, it's got a 4.9 on Crunchyroll with 84,000 reviews.
Okay.
So that kind of speaks for itself.
So we'll be back in 2 weeks with another episode of Dub Degenerates. Dan and I are going to start the new season by watching No God, No Game, or somebody said the right name, but you can find
something
it
like that. Yeah. The banner.
It's got
the banner shows that are on Crunchyroll right now.
Yeah. We're gonna watch that one. We're gonna watch Kaiju number 8. We're going to watch, what was the third one I mentioned?
Spice and Wolf remake. Yeah, because people are talking about that one like crazy. And then we're also going to be, I will be watching all of Solo Leveling I have 2 weeks, so we do the show every 2 weeks. So I got time. Better.
God's Game We Play. Everyone's correcting us. God's Game We Play. Those are the 3 we're going to be focusing on moving into the next season. Thank you guys for watching what apparently turned out to be season 1 of Dub Degenerates.
Apparently.
But yeah. I know this doesn't get a lot of views on our channel, but I have a lot of fun just sitting here chatting with anime with Dan. So it's been a lot of fun.
This is honestly my favorite podcast that we do now because it's one that I genuinely get to talk about things that I enjoyed watching as opposed to being forced to watch.
If we end up going, we should be this Friday. Dan and I are going to watch Spy Family White. We'll probably do a bonus episode of that.